Good evening, everyone. This is Coach Racquel. Welcome to Living Well with Coach Racquel. Thank you for joining me tonight, where we will talk about everything wellness and go over just some practical tips, everyday things that we can do so that we are living a better life and moving ourselves into living the best version of ourselves. And so today I have a really amazing show lined up. I have a guest with me today, and I'll introduce her in a second. But today our topic is all about wellness and education and how knowledge is really the key to us living a wellness life or living that wellness lifestyle. And so there was a scripture, it says, wisdom and money can get you almost anything, but only wisdom can save your life. And that's from Ecclesiastes 7:12. And I love this scripture, especially as we think about all that's going on today. You know, I know last week, I'm sure everyone was holding our breath. So I hope that you all were using some of those tips and tools that I talked to you about last week about breathing. And I hope you were using those this week as we were all waiting patiently to hear, what was going to happen and what way and direction our country was going to be going in. And so really, really happy to hear that we now have a new direction and that we're going to really get to bring more hope in and not necessarily be ruled from a space of fear and dissension. So again, thank you for joining today. I want to make sure, that you guys are logging in, sharing, make sure that you like this video so that we know that you're out there. And of course, if you ever have any suggestions or anything that you want to hear more about, please feel free to drop it in the chat box. As well, you can always check us out on the She Is Still Dope TV network, on all forms of social media. And there's always the replay there, and other amazing women who are doing some amazing things in terms of women's empowerment and purpose. So I thank you again for that. And like I said, today we're going to talk about that wellness and education. And what is it that we need to do as a people? A lot of times, and a lot of what was going on in our country was this idea of being separate. Oh, this is for this people, this is for those people, but it's really about us learning to come together. And when we're talking about wellness, it sits in that space of unity. Part of, and one of the biggest pieces of wellness is that social aspect, the connection, the relationships that we're developing one to another. And that starts with that knowledge, the education, the wisdom that we need to be able to really mobilize as a country, as a people, to really come together and to stop looking at each other's skin color, each other's ethnic backgrounds, worrying about people's social, economic status and looking down upon them, and rather coming to a place of really being able to empower one another so that we can all live our best lives, because there's room and space out here for everyone, which is why I love this network, because it's really about empowering women to come together, bring our sources, our resources together to really support one another. And today I have an amazing speaker with me today. Her name is Tiffany Murphy, and she is going to be talking to us about a great organization and some of the things that they're doing here on the ground to really help mobilize and educate, especially the Black community. And this isn't a race thing. I don't want you to think, just because I'm talking about the Black community that I'm not talking about you, because everyone can help. There is space for all of us to come together, because if there's a group of us that is not doing well, then we as a country are not in the best place for wellness. And in order, and especially as a coach, one of the things, one of the first things that we learn in that realm is about the social determinants of health. It's that social community. Do we have communities that are supporting a wellness attitude? I don't know if you guys know about green zones or blue zones, but those are communities where everything surrounds health and wellness. They have biking trails, and they grow their own food and all of these things. And wouldn't it be amazing if we could start to spread that out so that it's not just in those pockets of communities, but that we can start to put that in other places? And I'm telling you, these people that live in these blue zones, are living like hundreds of years, and it's not like, 100 of years and they're just struggling through. No, they're still living their best life, still working, still being a very active part of their communities. And so it's really imperative that we start to take that mindset and that wisdom and bring it into the space of all of our communities, and we can do it here in America. The other thing is healthcare, having access to healthcare, our education system, having quality education, having economics and knowing and understanding. And here that comes back to that knowledge and wisdom. And then the neighborhoods, are these neighborhoods safe? And, I know our president, our past president, as I like to, say as we move on, looks like we're having a bit of a blackout here on the screen. So hopefully you guys can see me. I'm going to keep talking. Hopefully we can get that up and running again. But when it comes to talking about, just supporting the suburbs, that's not a wellness. Like, how can we be well if we're only worried about ourselves? We have to be able to stretch out and to mobilize so that every person has that same opportunity to live a well life. And it starts with all of us bringing and compiling our resources together. So I have for you today, Miss Tiffany Murphy. Hopefully you can see her. Yep, there she is. Hi, Tiffany. How are you? Good. So I am so grateful that you're here today. And I'd love for you just to tell the audience just a little bit about you and who you are. And yeah.
Oh, wow. So first and foremost, thank you so much, Coach Racquel, for inviting me and having me on this very, exciting program today. I'm really, really excited to just talk briefly about the book fair and, just everything that, we intend to do with this long-standing program. So my name is Tiffany Murphy. I am with the steering committee for the One Africa, One Nation Marketplace, which is a program, an institution and a program of the African People's Education and Defense Fund, APDF for short. APDF is a nonprofit that has over 50 programs and institutions to forward self-determination for the Black community. And the One Africa, One Nation Marketplace, Uhuru Book Fair, and Uhuru Health Festival are all, integral parts and programs of, just that initiative to forward Black self-determination. The marketplace that, is here in Philadelphia has been in existence for over 14 years. And, it's a really important incubator for economic development. So, if we have makers, if we have small business owners that have an interest in starting their own business, building their own networks, gaining those contacts, and just vibing and connecting with other vendors, makers, and the like, they can do it there. It's a 6-month, it's a seasonal program that runs from April to October. And within that 6-month period, we have 2 large events, which is the Uhuru Health Festival that runs in April, and then the Uhuru Book Fair that runs generally in September and October. So the book fair is just really, really powerful within itself, because it's a showcase. It's a showcase of African authors, showcasing, their brilliant works. And it's also a platform for education partners to connect with the community in terms of distributing resources and really getting the important line of Black community control of education as a household, not necessarily a household name, but something that will become common knowledge within our communities. So just a really, really important initiative. It started and I'll be brief because I know we have an entire format. It started in 2015. It was the inspiration and idea of Chairman Omali Shatella, who is the founder and leader of the Uhuru movement. He was able to see, a deficit, and he called for a book fair to be created to have these conversations in the Black community about the disparities that exist around education. There's so many things that we understand that are not going, that aren't on par or aren't the same within white communities, in terms of quality of education, safety, severe lack of resources. So, we understand this, and the Uhuru Book Fair is designed to bring all these things together to empower and organize the Black community to have control of, education in the education sphere. So.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love one of the that I brought you in. And I'm sorry if you guys hear that there. A little bit of feedback there. But, I started with this organization about 2 years ago. I happened to be in the Uhuru furniture store. And, I was helping a friend of mine. She was looking for furniture. And I happened to see a flyer that was talking about the Health and Wellness Festival. And at the time, Ruby was over that. And so I happened to be talking to her about it. And I'm like, hey, what is this? Can I help out? I'm in the wellness industry. And she was like, absolutely. And I came out. And when I tell you guys, the Uhuru Book Fair, and they also do a health and wellness festival, it was amazing. And so my very first time doing it, and I can't remember if it was the book fair or the health festival, but all I know is there was like pollen everywhere, okay? Like could barely breathe. Everybody was coughing and sneezing because it was an outdoor festival. But the love and the joy and the amount of, I always say this word wrong, camaraderie, but just that coming together that you felt, like all of us were perfectly happy being, even though, nature wasn't quite working with us that day, but we were all just so happy to be there and just have that love and to have so many just, people that look like us. In one space, just really just supporting one another and, really learning about not only just our health, but also the education pieces and authors that were coming out and people who were writing books, and to be able to have a platform for them to have that space to showcase it. And I really, one of the reasons that it was important to my heart to have you come on here is because I think that not enough people know about the work that this organization is doing. And it's so selfless, so many people volunteering their time and their energy. And like she said, there's so many different small pieces that go along to it. The book fair, the health festival, that's just one piece, but there's so many other things and so many other ways that people can get involved. So how did you get involved with this work, and kind of what brought you into the space of the work?
Oh goodness. I have been familiar. I've been familiar with the flea markets for some time now. I'm a native of Philadelphia. I'm pretty aware of a lot of the large events that happen, cultural, education, and otherwise. But, I went to Clark Park one day and I just saw this really, really dynamic marketplace of different vendors just vending all types of beautiful things, handmade scarves, artwork, household goods, and things like that. But then I saw the organizing booth for APDF and how they were talking about Black self-determination and the importance of economic development in the African community. And that really drew me because, it separates this institution from a lot of different institutions because it's not transactional.
Mm-hmm.
Where you buy and sell things, but it's a platform to win the community to building our own institutions and building things that reflect our own interests. So I started to volunteer, and the rest is history.
Yeah, you kind of get roped in, like they become family, once you really get into the work and start really, getting to know, because there's so much that can be done. And I think one of the other big pieces for me that I loved was that it wasn't just us helping. There are other cultures. And so can you tell us a little bit about the White People's Socialist Party and how that also kind of intertwines with the work that you're doing?
Oh, solidarity forces. So yes, so the African People's Socialist Party is a revolutionary organization founded by Chairman Omali Shatella. But with some of our institutions, people see that there are white people organizing, and people get kind of confused. Well, if this is a Black organization, well, why are white people organizing? So the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and the African People Solidarity Committee are white people that work under the leadership of the party and the African such as myself to bring white people to institutions such as this, and to have them get on the right side of the question in terms of shedding the pedestal that they're on at the expense of the Black community, and organizing to Black liberation in a real way through African internationalism. So.
Yeah, and I love that because it comes back to the idea that it's not just one person. We can't just do it alone. It's not just one community, but really all of us coming together to really push forward this idea that everyone deserves a chance, and this is the country where that should be happening. And so really being able to have these opportunities, these open dialogues, and these programs and things to really start to show people how we can simply come together and mobilize to start to bring the awareness first, and then the resources that are needed to really help support the community. So when it comes to the book fair, what are some of the things that you think make this book fair different from some of the other ones that you've seen or that are out there?
This year in particular, or just our book fair in general?
Just in general, or this year, whichever one.
Well, this year is different from any other year that we've experienced, of course, because of the pandemic. But the overall aim of the Uhuru Book Fair is to organize the community to push back against the disparities that exist within the educational sphere for our people, for the Black community. So you have all these disparities that exist within primarily Black schools, such as increased police occupation, increase in suspensions, lack of resources, such as books and basic things such as toilet paper. These things are real things that exist, problems that exist within our schools, lack of access to reading materials, teachers being overworked, and because of increased class sizes. We see all these things that are happening in the Black community within our schools in the Black community that's not being solved. So, we take this on, as a political question. We see these things, but how can we address it in a real way and bring the Black community in so, we have the ability to have say in terms of how these problems will be solved. So, the book fair brings on these, serious political questions and organizes our people to get involved in, in changing that dynamic in a serious way.
Absolutely. And then I know that, especially now that everyone's kind of homeschooling and things like that, I know that the party also has some resources. Do you know anything about those resources that are out there for some of the parents that may be homeschooling their children and looking for some opportunities?
Well, and the great thing about, the book fair is, again, it's just not transactional. We don't do a whole lot of talking. We let the programming and the resources that we put out do the talking for us. So, in that line of thinking, and everybody who is listening and watching this, make sure that you register for the book fair and participate, because we have some great educational partners that will be participating in panels and participating in giving presentations regarding just the political climate of, education for our kids. And specifically, you were asking about resources. So one of the education partners we will be bringing is Dr. Matsamela Odom. He is with the African People's Socialist Party. He is based out of San Diego, California, and he will be talking about the Uhuru Shule program. So what the Uhuru Shule program does is they bring about African-centered education, African-centered, what is that? They develop coursework for, parents and students to engage in, that tells the true history of our people, as opposed to, a lot of these things that may not be as accurate in traditional textbooks. So they build African-centered curriculum. So he will be talking about that and, all the incredible work that IMPDM, the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, and Uhuru Shule will be doing. We will also be we'll have live cultural performances from Rhonda Rise. She is a local Philly talent with just a heart of gold and one of the most soulful voices I've ever heard. We also will be bringing in poetry. So we are partnering with the Free Library of Philadelphia to bring on the Poet Laureate, Trapita Mason, as well as the Youth Poet Laureate, Sidney Brown, to come, and share some of their work with us. So, but you have to come and participate in the book fair. And take advantage of all that. So.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I'm so excited about this year, as much as, there's so many things that are going on, and generally the book fair is held in person in Philadelphia at Clark Park. Yes. But one of the things that is kind of exciting for me is that now everyone gets to see, what we got to experience in those live in-person things. So I'm really excited now, because even some of the authors that are coming on are not necessarily from Philadelphia, but are really standing out. And so now, instead of just, you having to come to Philly this year, it doesn't matter where you are, you can participate in the book fair and really see some of the great work that this organization is doing. So if someone is interested, we did put up the URL for them to register. But so what is the date? Like, tell us a little bit, some more details about the actual book fair.
Oh, sure. So, the date for the book fair is Saturday, November 21st. It will run from 12 to 5. It will be broadcast via Facebook Live, as well as Zoom. And it is free to register. It is going to be just a really, really amazing program. It's just full of, excuse me, my throat's a little dry, but it's just going to be a really dynamic program full of education resources, open dialogues, where parents, if you have questions about how to ask questions of your child's teacher about curriculum, we have a great author panel that will discuss just the process of how to write a book, the inspiration on how to publish a book, and we also, within that same panel for the authors, there will be discussion on the question around comic books and just how, and graphic art, and how that plays a role in the whole literacy question. And I thought that was really important, as an organizer, because I grew up reading comic books, and to this day I'm still a comic book nerd.
Yeah.
And I think that really had an influence on my love for reading, my ability to use my imagination, how to place things, and so it's just a really important question, because traditional books may not work for everyone, but you do want to find some means of getting literature in our hands one way or another. So
Absolutely. And that knowledge is definitely key, and it's a great opportunity for, not just us as adults, but for our children to fall in love with that learning so that
Right.
they too have knowledge at their hands. Because again, it's not just about money, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times money will get you a lot of things, but your knowledge, that wisdom is going to get you so much further. And not only will it get you further, but when it comes to wellness and well-being, that knowledge is going to carry you and really give you life. And so I really thank you so much, Tiffany, for joining us today. I'm so excited that you were able to jump in. And is there anything else that you want to tell people, or any other ways that people can get involved if they're interested, not just even in the book fair, but are there any other ways that they can also get involved in doing the work?
No, I'm sorry. I was reading that.
Reading them.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that affirmation. Yes. So of course we're having the Uhuru Book Fair on Saturday, November 21st, but we also have intentions, and knock on wood, and if the environmental conditions lend itself, in 2021 we hope to reestablish and reinstate our in-person marketplace, our in-person health festival, and our in-person book fair. So we will need volunteers. So, if you're interested in volunteering, regardless of what your skill set is, what your background is, we want you to, come on board this really dynamic team. We're always looking for graphic designers, webmasters, people who are proficient in web design and web building. Even everyday organizers, if you love to just walk around and maybe hang up posters or hang up literature, there's lots to do. Yes. And thank you for putting up that NTU. Because the volunteers are the heart and soul of our work. We are all volunteers, even myself as an organizer, to really make this happen. And as Racquel was saying before, it's a lot of small pieces that, are necessary in order to make this big event happen. But it's like when the big event happens and you come to the show and everything comes together, it's just really mind-blowing. It's really dynamic. So, and then lastly, I really want to overemphasize just the need for everyone to register for this book fair because of our keynote speaker, founder and chairman of the Uhuru movement, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, one of the most brilliant, dynamic theoreticians and organizers of our lifetime. He will be our keynote speaker. It is definitely something that you do not want to miss. I know the first time I heard the chairman speak, it really changed my way of thinking. It changed my life. So he was also a really important factor in me participating in the marketplace as well as the book fair and health festival work. So yeah. Make it your business.
Yes, come on out and check it out. And like Tiffany said, this is a free event and it is for everyone, adults, children, people of all nationalities, cultures, relations, everything, just coming together to really get and to support these the community and to support people who are really doing the work, who are on the ground, who are really mobilizing to make sure that our communities are really getting what they need and to make sure that their voices are being heard. And so I really hope that you, if you have the 21st available, definitely make sure you go on, log in, register. You can go to the African People's Education and Defense Fund, which is apedf.org. Or you can go on the Facebook for the Uhuru Book Fair. And Tiffany, before we jump off, can you tell everyone what Uhuru means? A lot of times people are wonder what that is.
I guess we say this, and because, we already understand, but Uhuru is Kiswahili for freedom. So we say this, amongst our volunteers, we say it amongst ourselves to keep freedom and liberation in the front of us as we, as we build this really important work. So
Awesome. I love it. And I thank you again for coming on, because it definitely needs a light shine to know that, you know, this work is being done in the background, and that so many people are really pushing to really help with that liberation, self-determination as it relates to the Black community, and really allowing our voices to shine. Because again, as I say, wellness is in everything, and we can't be well if we're not all in a place to have that knowledge, understanding, the support that we need. And so, you know, especially now at a time where there's so much, you know, uncertainty, there's so much stress, there's so much frustration. One of the things and one of the easiest ways to remove yourself from a stressful state is to help somebody else. And so this is a great way and a great organization that's out there that's looking for volunteers, looking for some help, and also looking to support people. So if you have the time, definitely sign on. And they're looking for volunteers. So if you have some resources, or if you're looking for an opportunity to help, definitely reach out. Check out their website, apedf.org, or you can go on their Facebook. There's the Uhuru Book Fair Facebook, as well as the Uhuru Health and Wellness Festival, and definitely get some information about how you can sign up with this amazing organization. So I want to thank you again, and I thank you all for coming on, for checking me out. Remember, you can always watch the replay here on the Facebook group, or you can go on to She Is Still Dope TV. Remember to support the She Is Still Dope TV network. There's other amazing women doing amazing things. And if you are looking for coaching or any type of support, definitely check me out at fit2uwellness.com. It's fit, F-I-T, the number 2, Y-O-U wellness.com. Thank you, everybody, and live well. Uhuru.